You're listening to the Time to Level Up podcast. I'm your host, business life coach Andrea Liebross. I help women in business commit to their own growth personally and professionally. Each week, I'll bring you strategies to help you think clearly, gain confidence, make your time productive, turn every obstacle into an opportunity, and finally overcome the overwhelm so that you can make money and manage life. Let's create a plan so you have a profitable business, successful career, and best of all, live with unapologetic ambition. Are you ready to drop the drama and figure out the how in order to reach your goals? You're in the right place. It's time to level up. Let's do this. Hello, my friends. How are you today? I am back talking about goals, part 2. So I hope you're having a great month and curious if you actually did set some goals for 2021. If you haven't, you still got a few days left in January here to do it. If you're listening in January of 2021, it's never too late. And even if you didn't set 2021 goals, you could still even go ahead and set them in June of 2021. It doesn't really matter. Okay. But if you need some support on any of this, I do urge you to head over to my website and figure out ways we can work together, group coaching or one-on-one. So we left off last time with me telling you that when you set a goal and go after it with a willingness to fail, you gain enormous wisdom, experience, understanding, and self-knowledge. So true, isn't it? So true. And I want to continue here on and invite you to pick one of the goals that you've got on your list. Okay? So I want you to simply choose one goal that you would love to put your heart and soul into, even if you completely fail. All right, so this is super counterintuitive. So much of your brain is going to be confused about this. And I want you to notice the tendency to be confused and stay with me as we go through this. Okay, so here is what we're going to do, the quick version. We're going to pick one goal. And then we're going to plan for you to have 25 epic fails a quarter focused on this one goal. And then we're going to learn how to fail and understand the benefits of failing so that eventually you will succeed. And I did borrow a lot of this kind of thinking from some of my coaches, Brooke Castillo, Stacey Bayman, Brenda Lomelli, all of those people. All of this is kind of some of their thinking combined. And what I've found works for me. And I'm happy and excited to share it with you. First thing, inviting you to choose one goal to focus on and cross off the rest, or assess if the rest could be part of the one big goal. And sometimes people say to me, okay, Andrea, you're talking about like personal goals, professional goals. What are you talking about? So I love for you to have a business goal, and I love for you to have a personal goal, or sometimes I call it a pleasure goal. It's like having a business plan and a pleasure plan. Okay. But the reason I say one is because any goal that you work on for one whole year will definitely do the job of growing you. So I like to talk about committing to growth. If you can pick one goal, so that's like focusing in on one goal, constraining out the rest. Picture like putting up boundaries, walls, pushing out the rest, focusing in on one, then it's definitely going to grow you. All right. Now, don't take a lot of time agonizing over what one you're going to choose. Don't let your brain go into the confusion land mode. Don't indulge in confusion. Don't indulge in indecision. Okay, just pick one. All right, and if you can pick one by this time next year, you're going to be a completely different person if you attempt one goal. So often you can look at your list and pick the one that will make the rest of them kind of unnecessary or irrelevant. And if you have one on your list that makes the others sort of unnecessary or irrelevant or kind of wraps up all the others, that's the one I'd go with. Okay. But make sure that your goal is very measurable, it's specific, and it has a result. It's results oriented. All right. And possibly, you know what? It may even be impossible to you right now. And I'm excited if it is impossible. So if you're having trouble doing this, if you are, then you need to ask yourself, why am I having trouble? Right? Do you really want to do them all? Why would I want to do them all? And you know what? The only reason you'd want to do them all is because you want all of those feelings we talked about last episode now. Okay? Now, go back to the impossible piece. So it is currently impossible for the person you are right now, today, right? And you may have to change that goal. You may have to change yourself in order to move that goal into the realm of possible. All right. Now, don't pick a goal that is like truly impossible. Like Brooke always uses the example of flying without wings. Okay. I mean, this is impossible. Maybe it's possible, but really it's not relevant or useful. So don't go there, right? Pick something that's currently impossible, but worth working toward because the process is worth it and the goal is meaningful to you specifically. And a lot of times I like to say the growth is in the process, not necessarily in the plan. Listen to that. The growth is in the process, not necessarily the plan. So what is the process that you need to take in order to get the result? Well, there's no way we're going to be able to figure that out unless we know what is going to be on that result line. And that result you're looking for, if you achieve this goal, needs to be specific. Okay. So when you think about this goal, that result line should be crystal clear. Okay. So if you were to explain this goal to someone, they should know exactly how to say you achieved it because it's measurable. All right. So again, don't freak out. Don't spend hours in indecision. Just pick the goal and write down what you want the result to be and make sure it is measurable. All right. Moving on. I want you now to tell me or write down all the reasons why you think it is impossible. This is your chance to hear all that garbledygook going on in your brain. Hear it out. Hear it out. So I will tell you, when I chose a revenue goal for this year, I actually did think it was impossible. All right. You know why I went to it was impossible? Because I had never done it before. Okay. And I couldn't figure out exactly what it would look like in order to do it or how it would come to fruition. All right. So interesting that I went to the past to try to figure out how to do the future. All right. So when you're writing down all the reasons why it's impossible, let your brain complain and whine and be in confusion land and let it come up with all the excuses of why it can't happen. Okay, just let them all out. Don't hold back. Look in all of the recesses of your brain to figure out why. All the things your parents told you, okay, or all the things you learned in school about why this might be impossible or what your spouse says. Sure, write them all down. But you need to know that you can change this impossible goal to possible and then to inevitable. And how we're going to do that, we're going to do that today. And how we do that is using our model, which gives us super great clarity. Okay, so remember the model. I think that's in one of the very first episodes, maybe episode 2. There's circumstances in life. They are facts. No one in a court of law would argue with them. The judge would not argue. They're facts. Those are I call them the circumstances, which trigger your thoughts, which cause a feeling, which then cause you to take action or go into inaction or have a reaction. And then ultimately there is a result after all of this. And the result is always evidence of the thought line. So right now, in the circumstance line, you should have, my goal is not met. Because that's the truth. Your goal is not met. All right. And if you're feeling it's impossible, then in that feeling line is probably overwhelm. Right. And your thought is something like, I don't know how to do this. So I don't know how to do this. Brings you to overwhelm, which then triggers some inaction. Okay. And then the result of all that is the goal is still not met. Isn't that interesting? When you feel overwhelmed, you don't reach the goal. All right. So all of that happens though because of your feeling, that overwhelm feeling that you don't reach the goal. So I'm going to bring it back to tennis. I like bringing things back to sports. Okay. And I want you to think about when you are going into overwhelm and feeling like something is impossible, you often want to quit, right? You could quit by not even writing the goal, or you could quit and say, Andrea, I'm done with you. But you want to quit. So let's go back to remember that our thoughts create our feelings. Okay. And when you fail at something, it's totally caused by the way you are thinking, thus feeling. Okay. And if you lost a tennis match, you might be feeling overwhelmed and miserable and maybe in pain. Okay. But I want you to recognize when you lose a tennis match, there is no pain. When you believe you're horrible at tennis, when you believe you should have won the match with a different type of overhead, or when you think there's something wrong with you, when you think you'll never play Division I tennis, then there is pain because your thoughts have created the pain. So when you actually lose the match, there's no pain. It's your thoughts about losing that are creating the pain, okay? And you can cause your own pain with your own thinking. The loss itself or the score, that does not cause the pain, okay? Because think about it. Someone else could have ended a match, had the exact same score, and they could feel joy, right? So how is that possible? Same score, different feeling. So it's really, remember, it's their thinking about it, okay? And the worst thing that can ever happen in our lives is just a feeling. If the worst thing that can happen in our lives is a feeling, isn't that amazing? The worst that can happen is something we cause. So our terrible thoughts create our terrible feelings, and that's really all okay. So if you're feeling about this goal that it is overwhelming or that it is impossible, I want you to recognize that that's all just coming from your thoughts. Interesting, isn't it? So you're going to have to completely change who you're being in order to move this goal from the realm of impossible to possible. You're going to have to change your thinking. So if we've got in the circumstance line, goal is not met, how can we get the result of goal is not met, but you're taking action toward it because you believe it's possible? All right. So your feeling now is not overwhelm. Your feeling might be motivated or driven or committed because you know it's possible. So your thought here could change to, I am someone who works towards goals because reaching them is possible. And then that's going to create a different feeling, some different actions. The action is going to be something like you're working toward it, you're in the process. And then your result line is the goal still may not be met, but you are taking steps towards meeting it. All right. So while you're trying to reach the goal with the result of goal eventually being met, you have to have that feeling of possibility. Okay. So all the strategies that you need to have to take the massive action and to make it inevitable. Okay. There are lots of different strategies, but the first strategy, okay, is to think of someone who could accomplish this goal. Think of someone who has already accomplished it and who, if they stepped into your life right now, could get it done. And I want you to go borrow their thoughts. How do they think differently? So this is what I had to do this year, you guys. I had to go into the thoughts of people who have created the revenue goal that I wanted to create, who have helped the number of people that I want to help. So those are some of my coaches that I look up to, and I had to go borrow some of their thoughts. Isn't that kind of interesting? I went and I said, hey, can I borrow some of your thoughts? Because you think differently than I do. And if you were me, I know this would become inevitable, right? So to get to the result of goal met, I had to get to the feeling of it being inevitable. So interesting. Okay. And I had to realize that achieving the goal is a process. So I had to love all of these previous models, the model where things were impossible, the model where things were possible, and the model where things are inevitable. I had to love them all equally. They all get equal time. And I had to kind of come to terms with where I was in the process. And I had to really believe and feel in my heart of hearts that where I was going, the journey I was on, was super interesting. Okay. And I had to accept that I was really planning a journey, right? You've all heard the expression, this is a marathon, not a sprint. So yes, I had to love being in the marathon. And I don't really even like running, but I had to love being in the marathon. How many times do you guys hear these marathon runners? At the end, they say the best part was the crowd along the way. It was the crowd along the way. That was the best part of the whole thing. Okay, so what type of person do you need to become to accomplish this impossible goal? Who do you need to become to get to the finish line? And as you embody this new version of yourself, I want you to fast forward into your future and become that person that's finished, that future person that's already finished, and become the person who's already accomplished the goal, who's already gone on the journey. I want you to channel that person because we're going to need that person. We're going to need that person as we explore and brainstorm and plan out how this is all going to go down. All right. So if you have an impossible goal that you would be thrilled to accomplish, okay, but you haven't been going after it because you've felt like it's impossible, now is your time to channel that future person, believe ahead of time that you can do it, and ask that future person how to do it. Yeah, we're going to ask the future person how to actually do this. Okay, so sometimes new clients, they say to me, yeah, I mean, I know this all sounds great, but I just don't know. I don't know how you're going to help me get there. How I'm going to help them overcome whatever challenge they're facing or how I'm going to help them reach their goal. And I always say to them, listen, I want you to go to that person in the future who's already done this. And I want you to ask them what to do, first of all. But even before that, even before the first of all, is to ask them whether or not you should decide to tackle it, decide to take it on, decide to find the support and systems and strategies you need. Okay, so imagine you're the person that did it and you're asking them, should I actually do this? Yes, they're going to say yes. Of course you should. Okay, so I want you to let your dreaming mind explore without doubt, without shutting anything down. Okay, how to do this. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to end there for today. Okay, we're going to stop. And next time we meet, next podcast, we're going to go through this process of exploring and brainstorming and planning. All right. And in order to do that, you have to channel that future self, the one that already did it, and ask them. Okay. So really embody that future person, and we're going to ask them. So homework for today is to choose the one goal, just the one impossible goal. Recognize how it might make all the others kind of not necessary because maybe it embodies them. I want you to then create some models where you've got a model where it feels impossible, a model where it feels possible, and a model where it feels inevitable. And notice how your thoughts need to change as you go through these. But love each of those models equally because they're part of the process. And then I want you to go to that future self and ask them, should I go for this or should I not go for this? Ask them, is it worth going through the process or not going through the process? And then ask them to come back when we talk next week as we go through the brainstorming piece of this, exploring and brainstorming and planning. Okay, my friends, I hope this was helpful. If you want more help on this kind of stuff, this is what we do with coaching. So go over to my webpage and check out all the options. And if you're enjoying this podcast, now you've listened to a couple episodes, please go rate and review it. That's how we get found. That's how I can help more people, how I can help reach my impossible goal of helping 1,000 women. Okay, that would be great if you could do that for me. It's super easy. So until then, until we talk next time, remember, you can do this. Let's do this together. And it's time to level up. Have a great week. Thanks for tuning in to today's show. If you're ready to commit to personal and professional growth, move forward, make money, and manage life, head to AndreaLiebross.com. That's AndreaLiebross.com to find out about the ways we can work together. Until next time, go level up.